The night the Vampire King saved Elowyn Rae Carter's life, he vanished into the fog like a ghost, leaving her with a heartbeat inside her that didn't belong to any human. Now, every shadow in Port Haven feels like it's watching her, waiting for the moment they can steal the ancient child she never asked for. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you dawn. The fog always came before midnight in Port Haven, rolling over the streets like a slow, living thing, thick enough to swallow streetlights, heavy enough to silence footsteps. Most people hated it. Elowyn Rae Carter feared it. But fear didn't pay bills, so she walked home from her shift at the Blue Lantern Diner with her backpack slung once more over her shoulder, sneakers soaked from the drizzle, and exhaustion weighing her down like wet sandbags. Another night, another $8 in tips, she muttered, blowing warm air into her freezing palms. Her manager, old Mr. Turner, had offered her a ride, but she refused because the last thing she wanted was to be the subject of his weird, fatherly pity again. She had been taking care of herself since she was 16. She could do it again tonight. Besides, home was only 7 blocks away. 7 fog-filled, silent, unsettling blocks. Her phone buzzed again for the 10th time in the past hour, Mom flashing across the screen. Elowyn rolled her eyes and declined. If her mother wasn't asking for money, she was asking why Elowyn didn't just get married and stop working like a mule. Never mind that her mother had spent her entire life choosing men who drained her dry. And now she wanted Elowyn to help pay for the latest one. Not tonight, Elowyn whispered. Please, not tonight. She tucked her phone into her pocket and tightened her coat. That's when she heard it. A shuffle. Not behind her, not beside her, but above, like claws dragging across a metal rooftop. Her breath hitched. It's just a raccoon, or a bird, or something thick dripped from the roof. It splattered onto the concrete inches from her sneakers, dark, sticky, warm. Blood. Her chest tightened. Oh God! She stepped back, her pulse racing so violently she could hear it between her ears. She scanned the alley behind the diner, eyes darting left and right. Nothing. Nothing but fog. She walked faster, then faster, until she was practically running. Even the fog seemed to move with her, curling around her ankles like hands trying to drag her back. Another sound, this time right behind her. A wet inhale, like something smelling her. She spun around. At first, she saw nothing but gray mist. Then silhouettes began to form. 3 tall figures stepping out of the fog, as if they were carved from darkness itself. Leaving so soon, sweetheart, one of them crooned, voice raspy like broken glass. They were wrong. Wrong in every way. Bodies too long, eyes too empty, teeth too sharp. Her instinct screamed. Elowyn ran. Her bag flew off her shoulder, her legs pounded the pavement, and the cold night cut into her lungs like knives. She screamed for help, but the fog stole her voice, swallowing the sound whole. She turned a corner. Missed. No exit. Nothing but a dead-end street and a flickering lamppost. Her heart was on fire. She faced them slowly, shaking so hard her knees almost buckled. "PL, please," she whispered. "I don't have anything. I don't even have my bag." The tallest figure stepped forward. His smile spread too wide. "Who said we wanted your things?" He reached for her. Elowyn stumbled back until her spine hit the cold brick wall. Her world shrank to the space between her and them. Her breath faltered. Her vision blurred. She was going to die in a forgotten alley in Port Haven. She was going to. The air shifted. A sudden, violent gust of wind sliced through the alley like a blade, scattering the fog and rattling windows. The streetlight flickered so intensely it buzzed like a lightning strike. The creatures paused. Then, he appeared, as though he stepped out of the darkness itself. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with a predatory calm that made even the monsters retreat in fear. His eyes, glowing molten gold, locked onto hers for half a heartbeat, and something inside her stilled. He turned toward the creatures, voice low, ancient, laced with power. "You dare touch what is mine?" Elowyn didn't realize he meant her. Not then. Not until much later. The creatures lunged. He didn't move like a man. He moved like a storm. Elowyn blinked, and one creature's head hit the pavement. Blinked again, and another was impaled on a shadow that hadn't been there before. The third tried to run. He didn't make it 10 feet. Silence swallowed the alley. Elowyn slid down the wall, shaking uncontrollably. Her vision flickered between consciousness and darkness. She heard her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Too loud, too fast. The man turned to her slowly. He walked toward her with the quiet confidence of a king, but his eyes, those impossible gold eyes, held something she never expected. Fear. Fear for her. "You're hurt," he whispered, kneeling beside her. I'm fine." She wasn't. Blood soaked the side of her shirt where the first creature's claws had grazed her. She pressed her hand to the wound, but the bleeding didn't stop. He reached toward her, then froze, hesitating. It shocked her. How could a man who just tore monsters apart with his bare hands look uncertain? "You won't survive this injury," he said, voice trembling almost imperceptibly. "But if I help you, if I save you, you will no longer belong entirely to the human world." I don't understand." "You will," he whispered. "Forgive me." Before she could speak, he pressed his palm to her chest. A heat exploded through her body, so intense she arched off the ground, gasping. Gold light rippled over her skin as something ancient and powerful sank into her heartbeat. Something not human. Her wound closed beneath his touch. Her breathing steadied. Her vision sharpened. The world slowed. And he, this impossible man, exhaled in relief. "It is done." Elowyn stared at him. "But what are you?" He rose to his full, towering height. "I am Valor Draven," he said, "king of the vampires." Her stomach dropped. "You saved me," she whispered. His jaw clenched. "I should not have." Before she could ask why, he stepped back into the darkness and vanished. No sound, no trace, no explanation. Just gone, leaving her alone in the alley with nothing but her racing heart and the feeling that something inside her had changed forever. 3 weeks later, she collapsed at work. One minute she was taking orders from table 7. The next her stomach twisted so violently she dropped her notepad and hit the floor hard enough for the entire diner to scream her name. At the hospital, the nurse ran a test. Then another. Then called the doctor. He stared at the monitor for nearly a full minute before speaking. "Miss Carter, you're pregnant." Elowyn laughed. Actually laughed because it was impossible. She hadn't been with anyone in over a year. But the doctor wasn't laughing. And the heartbeat on the monitor? It didn't sound right. It was too strong, too fast, too powerful. "That heartbeat," Elowyn whispered. "Is it normal?" The doctor swallowed. "No, it isn't human." Her blood ran cold. Her world tilted. Her lungs refused to expand. The Vampire King didn't just save her life. He left something behind. Something alive. Something ancient. Something his. And now, she could feel eyes following her everywhere she went. Shadows moving where shadows shouldn't. Voices whispering her name when she walked home. She wasn't alone anymore. And every creature in Port Haven could sense it. If you were Elowyn, would you keep the child of the most dangerous being alive, or run and hide before the supernatural world finds you? Tell me what you would do. Elowyn Rae Carter had never felt more alone. Not even on the nights she slept hungry, cold, or forgotten. But the isolation she felt now was different. Heavier. Electric. Like the air itself had become aware of her. And it wasn't wrong. 3 days after the doctor told her she was pregnant, Port Haven changed. It started small. Shadows stretching a little too far, streetlights flickering when she walked beneath them, stray dogs growling at her from a distance. But then came the dreams. Every night she saw him, Valor Draven, the Vampire King, standing in smoke, bare-chested, blood-gold eyes burning into hers as if he could see her soul. His voice, low, ancient, impossible, echoed inside her mind. "You carry what belongs to me." She woke gasping, sweating, touching her stomach as if afraid he might be standing in her bedroom. But he never was. Only the dream was real, or so she thought. By day 3, walking home felt like crawling through a minefield. She left work early, clutching her jacket tighter than usual. The street lights buzzed faintly overhead. The town was too quiet. Port Haven always had its late-night chatter, the hum of traffic, the sound of fishing boats in the distance. Tonight, silence. The fog pressed close around her, thick like wool. She tried to breathe normally, but every inhale felt like the air was being stolen from her. Her phone rang again, her mother. She declined to call. She didn't have the energy to explain supernatural pregnancy to the woman who once asked if garlic really killed vampires. Elowyn shoved her hands into her pockets, forcing herself forward. Then she noticed it. Footsteps. Behind her, perfectly matching her pace. She froze. The footsteps stopped too. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She swallowed, barely able to whisper, "Who's there?" The fog didn't answer. She took one step. The footsteps followed. Elowyn spun around, breath catching, and nearly screamed. A man stood several feet away, tall with broad shoulders, wearing a black coat that blended into the night. His face was obscured by the fog, but she could make out silver hair falling to his jawline. Not Vaylor. Someone else. "Miss Carter," the man said softly. Too softly, like the fog spoke for him. "What do you know my name?" Elowyn whispered, stepping back. "You're carrying something of great importance. The king's essence is unmistakable." Her blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "A guardian," he said. "Of sorts." He stepped forward, and the streetlight closest to him shattered, raining sparks onto the pavement. Elowyn staggered back. She didn't trust him. Her body knew instinctively. He was dangerous. "I don't need a guardian," she said. His lips twitched. "Every carrier needs one." "What does that even mean?" But he didn't answer. He reached toward her stomach, eyes glowing faintly. Elowyn backed up so fast she slipped, falling hard onto the sidewalk. The stranger approached again, until something slammed into the ground between them with the force of a bomb. A blur of black, a shockwave of wind, a pulse of gold light. The stranger flew backwards, crashing into the brick wall with a sickening thud. Elowyn gasped as the fog tore apart, swirling violently around the figure that had appeared. Her heartbeat recognized him before her eyes did. Vaylor, the Vampire King. The air changed, electric, heavy with dominance. He didn't move at first, simply stood with his broad back facing her, shoulders rising and falling with slow, controlled fury. When he finally turned, his eyes glowed bright enough to burn through the fog. Elowyn's pulse stuttered. He wasn't calm like the night he saved her. He was enraged. "Approach her again," Vaylor growled at the silver-haired stranger, "and I will rip the soul from your body." The stranger wiped blood from his lip. "She carries the air. You cannot expect others to stay away. She is under my protection." The stranger smirked bitterly. "You abandoned her." Elowyn's breath caught. Vaylor flinched. Just slightly, but she saw it. "Leave," Vaylor commanded. The stranger bowed mockingly and vanished into the fog, as if swallowed whole. Silence followed. Elowyn forced herself to her feet, legs trembling. Vaylor didn't take a single step toward her. He stood frozen, tension radiating off him like heat. Finally, she whispered, "You left me." His jaw tightened. "You should not have seen me again." "That's not an answer." His eyes flickered down to her stomach, only for a moment, but it was enough. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew something like this could happen." "I suspected," he said quietly. "But I did not intend." He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "My essence should not have taken root." "It did," Elowyn snapped. "And now people, things, are trying to take me. That man said I needed a guardian. What does that even mean?" Vaylor looked away, as if the fog itself had become more interesting than her fear. "The child of the Vampire King is coveted. Your blood now carries power. You are a vessel some will worship and others will destroy." Her stomach dropped. "So I'm supposed to just accept this? Accept being hunted because you touched me with your magic?" He bristled. "It was not magic. Then what was it, Vaylor? What did you do to me?" His eyes met hers. Regret lived in them. "I gave you part of my life force. It binds you to me as long as you carry my air." "Bind," she repeated. "As in connected?" He nodded once. Her voice shook. "How connected?" "You feel my presence," he said. "My emotions, my anger, my fear." He swallowed. And I feel yours. Elowyn's knees almost buckled. That explained everything. The dreams. The sudden bursts of heat in her chest. The moments she felt watched but strangely safe. She gripped her stomach protectively. Why didn't you tell me? Humans were never meant to carry my essence, Valor said. It was an act of desperation. A mistake. A mistake? She whispered, her voice cracking. Saving me was a mistake? He stepped forward instantly. No, not that. But she stepped back. He froze. For a moment, the only sound between them was her shaky breathing. Why are you here now? She asked finally. He hesitated, something he seemed to do often around her. Because I felt your fear, he said. From across the continent. Her breath caught. Across the what? Where have you been? She whispered. Away. I needed to break the bond. I tried. His voice grew heavy. But it didn't break. Her heartbeat thudded. You didn't just give me your essence, she said slowly. Did you? His silence was answer enough. You marked me. He flinched. Not intentionally. Marking me means what, Valor? He closed his eyes. It means you are mine to protect eternally. Her legs turned to water. You marked me for life. He nodded once. Elowyn pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. I can't do this. I didn't ask for any of this. Elowyn pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. I can't do this. I didn't ask for any of this. Your fear is justified, Valor said softly. But you are not alone. She laughed bitterly. Really? Because until 3 minutes ago, I hadn't seen you since the night you saved me. He looked tortured, truly tortured. I stayed away because I feared what my presence would do to you. His voice dropped. You are fragile. Elowyn's eyebrows shot up. Fragile? I mean physically not. Stop talking. Understood. She paced in a tight circle, gripping her hair. People are following me, Valor. Shadows whisper my name. That man tonight, what was he? A hunter, Valor said. Not the worst kind, but dangerous enough. Her stomach twisted painfully. She placed a hand on it protectively. Valor's gaze softened. You feel it, he said quietly. Feel what? The child growing inside you. She hesitated, but he was right. She did feel something. Not movement, not a kick, but presence. Like a second heartbeat in her mind. Valor stepped closer, so close she could feel his warmth. Something she never imagined a vampire could have. Come with me, he said. Tonight. The words hit her chest like a shockwave. Come with you where? A safe place. A fortress warded by spells older than your nation. No hunter or creature can enter without being burned to ash. She stared at him, and for the first time, she saw something behind his fierce exterior. Fear. The vampire king was afraid. For me, she whispered. His voice was barely audible. For both of you. A cold gust of wind swept through the alley, and Valor suddenly tensed. What? Elowyn began. He grabbed her wrist gently, too gently for someone so powerful, and pulled her close. Someone else is here, he murmured against her ear. Her blood froze. Another hunter? No. He inhaled her scent as if memorizing it. This one wants your blood. Her heart thudded violently. Elowyn swallowed. What do we do? Valor's eyes shimmered gold, sharp and merciless. We run. Before she could process it, he lifted her effortlessly, cradling her against his chest. The world blurred. Fog split apart in a violent burst. Wind screamed past her ears. And then, a roar behind them. Something inhuman. Something hungry. Elowyn clutched his coat, her body shaking against his. Valor, what is that? He didn't answer. Not until they reached the cliffs overlooking the ocean, the fog curling around them like living smoke. Only then did he speak. A shadow beast, he said, eyes glowing fiercely. Sent by someone who knows what you carry. Elowyn trembled. Why me? Why is this happening? Valor turned to her fully. And this time, there was no hesitation. Because you are carrying the future ruler of my world. Her breath left her in a rush. And they will kill you before they allow him to be born. If you were Elowyn, would you trust the vampire king who marked you without permission? Or try to escape him, even if he's the only one who can keep you alive? Tell me what you think. Before we go deeper, tell me this. Do you think Valor truly cares for her? Or is it all about the air? Comment your thoughts and hit subscribe because the next part gets even crazier. Neria woke up before dawn, her heart pounding faster than usual. For 3 mornings in a row, she had felt the same thing. A strange heat in her veins, a fluttering in her stomach, a low hum beneath her skin, like something ancient was sleeping inside her, waiting. She sat up on the bed in the royal guest chamber. Her fingers trembled. "This can't be happening," she whispered. But it was. The healer's words from the night before echoed in her mind. "Your body carries a strange magic, one I have never seen in a human. You should tell the king." Neria knew exactly what it was, but she was terrified to say it. She was pregnant, and not with an ordinary child. She was carrying the vampire king's heir, the same man who had saved her life, the same man who kissed her with fire and shadows, the same man who vanished the next morning without looking back. She pressed a hand to her belly. Why would he leave? Before she could spiral deeper into confusion, the doors burst open. It was Azael, the king's loyal advisor. He stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Lady Neria, we have a serious problem." She tried to stand, but dizziness washed over her like a wave. "What's happening to me?" Azael swallowed hard. "It is the child," he said quietly. "The king's blood is waking inside you. Your body is changing, adapting, but humans were never meant to carry a vampire heir." Neria felt the room spin. "Will I die?" Azael shook his head. "No, but the king must complete the marking ritual, or your body will not survive the transformation." The marking ritual. She had heard about it in whispers. It was the ancient bond between a vampire king and his chosen mate. A bond that should have been completed the night he saved her. But he left. Azael continued. "We must find him immediately. The king doesn't know you carry his child. If he finds out too late, we may lose both you and the heir." Neria grabbed Azael's arm. "Where is he?" Azael hesitated. "The king left to fight the Shadow Legion. He claimed he didn't want to involve you in his world or his enemies." Her heart stung. So that was why he left. To protect her. But now, she needed him to survive. Suddenly, a violent surge of energy shot through her stomach. White lightning flashed beneath her skin. Neria screamed. Azael rushed forward. "It's starting. The child is awakening early." Neria collapsed to her knees, clutching her belly. Her eyes glowed faint silver. Her fingernails sharpened. Her heartbeat slowed into something ancient, powerful. Azael's voice trembled. "Dear gods, she's becoming part vampire already. If the king doesn't return within 48 hours, the transformation will consume her." Neria forced herself to breathe through the pain. Then she spoke with determination. "Take me to him." Azael shook his head. "The battlefield is dangerous." She raised her chin, power flickering in her gaze. "Danger didn't stop him from saving my life. Now I'm going to save his and our child's." Azael looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time he saw it. Strength, fire, royal blood awakening inside her. He nodded. "Then prepare yourself, Lady Neria. Your journey to the Shadowlands begins tonight." Neria touched her stomach gently. "Hold on, little one. We're going to find your father." The wind howled outside the windows, as if the entire kingdom knew. A storm was coming. A queen was rising. And a child destined to change the vampire world forever was already choosing its mother's heartbeat. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.